We've come together today as fellow Americans to celebrate the life of one of the greats. Debbie, thank you for giving me the honor of being part of this today. It means a lot to me to be here to honor my friend, the gentleman from Michigan, the Dean of the House, the Chairman. And as you know, John was driven by the notion that congressional service is an act of coming together and finding common ground necessary to advance the interests of our country. A mentor to many of us who served with him in the Congress, John was revered by colleagues, Democrat and Republican alike. In 2013, when I was Speaker, John became the longest-serving member in the history of the House, and we honored him with a ceremony in Statuary Hall. We surprised him, as Fred pointed out earlier, by announcing that the room of the Energy and Commerce Committee, the chamber that had already become synonymous with his name, would henceforth be named the John David Dingell Jr. Room. Now, this idea didn't come from John. It didn't come from his fellow Democrats. It came from two Republicans, the current chairman of the committee and the former chairman of the committee. And like many who served with him, they loved him. And that's not to say that my friend John was all honey and no vinegar. He was a practitioner of what you might call tough love. He was a man who fought fiercely for what he believed. As a young man, it meant enlisting in the United States Army in the Second World War. As a member of Congress, it often meant going toe-to-toe with the opposite political party. On occasion, it meant going toe-to-toe with his own political party. And sometimes, when necessary, it meant getting in the faces of his own friends. I can't tell you how many times over the 25 years we served together, he chastised me about smoking. But you always knew where you stood with Mr. Dingell. I remember when I became chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee in 2001. The first thing I did after I got elected was to find John in his usual place on the House floor and sat down and said, "What do I do now?" But he was always there with advice. And if you go back and look at some of the speeches that John gave during his final years in Congress, a few themes came up repeatedly. Time and again, he spoke of goodness, of kindness, of decency, of friendship. And by the time his career of public service had reached its apex, these were the things that John had come to value above all else and to embody in his own life. He was fond of the notion that we as Americans are all in the same boat together. At the helm of the ship of state, Democrats rode left. Republicans rode right. John Dingell rode where the people of his beloved Michigan district wanted him to row. And with those priorities always in mind, he forged a legislative record during his decades in Congress that may never be matched. Healthcare, the environment, energy, civil rights, many of the most significant laws of our land forged over the past 60 years bear the unmistakable imprint of John David Dingell Jr. His record also includes helping to stop what would have been some very big mistakes. The rough and tumble of the legislative process can test the patience of even the most disciplined soul. And John Dingell was not a man given to illusions or prone to reliance on sugar-coated antidotes. The United States Congress, he knew, has never been a perfect institution. What it has been, at its finest moments, is an instrument furthering the quest for a more perfect union, a quest that began more than 200 years ago. John Dingell was present for more of those moments than any other American ever to serve. Through his iron will, his commitment to the dignity of his fellow man, and his skill as a legislator, he was also the driving force behind many of those movements. He was a great legislator, not just because he was a shrewd negotiator or a master tactician or a hard-driving son of a gun. He was all of those things. But John Dingell was a great legislator. and above all else because he was a great American. One who believed with all of his soul in the greatness that the idea that is America. Our nation is blessed to have been served for so long and by such distinction as John Dingell, Jr. I'm blessed to have known him, blessed to have learned from him, truly a man of the house. Rest in well-earned peace, my friend.